Time has come once again to speak as co-creators in Magic Do. I'm Daniel Dubois.
And I'm Michaela Stone, and he's laughing because I'm holding up a card I pulled exactly when he told me the title, which
Mhm.
is Truth. Go for it, Daniel.
Yeah. So, welcome to season 10, episode 4, if I'm not mistaken, titled Thoughts.
True thoughts.
Yeah. So, I have been I've crossed some thresholds. And it's
Okay.
like, how do you come back to talking to people after you cross some of these thresholds?
Yeah.
Like, some of my experience was basically, so like I said before, right? There's an angel I'm working with, and we're doing all the whole Renaissance of magic thing. And I don't know how to explain this particular thing because it got dragonized. So at least temporarily, it's a dragon angel. Turn dreams into reality through focus, efforts, and determination. Actions create tangible results. So manifestation. That's the next card that Michaela pulled.
I
Yeah.
put them down for a bit because I feel like I'm going to keep pulling them every 2 minutes
Yeah. Well,
otherwise.
you might. You might.
I
Because
might.
this is like the magic that's happening and the things you might be experiencing or catching a whiff of. If things start seeming fantastical, no, they are. It's because they are. That's why.
That's true. They are. There's a lot going on. It's revealing time
Hmm.
still. There's so many layers being peeled back, and I would like to be able to sleep.
Ah, yes.
I would like to be able to sleep because there's so much going on, and it's like I'm fucking exhausted.
Yeah.
But
Well,
yeah,
most of my
part of the
last
deal.
week, but most of my last week's magic has been like spiritual nourishment, healing, uh, resting. Here's some stuff you can do for yourself. If you just access the spell, you'll be cool and whatever. Like it's all been in the support realm.
Yeah,
But
mine I think is in
yeah,
the things is gonna keep being insane until I whittle down
yeah.
to the essentials, whatever that may be.
Well, that fits appropriately through what's happening right now. Because right now is that current period of okay, take stock, really take time to make sure you're good. That's where it is. The second wave, that second magical web, that's been the magic I've been doing is basically that. It's like it's time to take stock and make sure you're doing what you need to do because it only gets more fun from here.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Ah. Mutter,
Interestingly,
mutter, mutter.
yeah, it's funny
Mm.
because interesting today when I was writing the date for my notes, it said July, so July 11th, right? Except for I ended up writing July 11th, 2027 instead of 2026.
Mm.
I don't know if that means anything, but it's
Well,
exactly
we'll
what my
find
brain
out.
wanted to write. So I don't know.
We'll find out. It's my mother's birthday.
Is it?
Hmm. She's no longer with us, but
I was
it's her
gonna say both
birthday.
happy and I don't know,
It's
thoughts
a thing.
birthday. Yeah.
It's a thing. It just sort of came forward
Mm,
as you pointed out the date. I was like,
mm,
oh yes. I haven't thought about it yet today, but
mm.
I
You're
also
welcome.
haven't thought about the date until
Yeah,
today,
yeah.
until you said it. So,
And so today's about thoughts, about almost this. Like I said to Mikhail, it's like almost like a debrief, almost a state of the magic address, almost somewhere in that realm.
state of state of the magic address. I like the idea of that one.
Yeah. It'll be our third one
Uh, yeah,
if this episode becomes one. But it's a time to relax, breathe, slow down for a minute, take stock, see where you're going.
define your practice.
Right.
That's what
Because
I
it's,
got was define your
yeah.
practice.
Well, yeah.
It's because I'm all in favor of being eclectic and trying all
Mm,
the things. It's probably a bad habit of mine, but I've done it forever.
mm,
I like to experiment, and the message I'm getting, I don't know if this is for others or not, see if it resonates for you, is okay, you've done your FAFO, now pick a lane and, focus on it. Whether that stays the lane is another matter, but I believe the time has come for more focus of intention, which we may have mentioned before, but I can focus my attention in a bunch of
mm,
places. And what I'm getting is nope, bring it down, bring it down, bring it down. It's because I think I've been taxing my reserves rather a
right.
lot this last year or so, maybe longer. Certainly the last year.
Yeah.
And I don't have a lot left in the reserve tank, so I
Right.
gotta narrow that down and focus intentionally and purposefully. So if that resonates for somebody else, if that sounds like something you need to do, cool, take it and go do that thing. And if it doesn't, well, came up for me. So
Yeah.
you're getting it.
Well, and I'll add what probably might will help is that so the FAFO of figuring out what you want to do for magic, right? It's important because you build a foundation. You build a good, diverse foundation that you can rest your thing on, you can rest your magic on. But you're right, you can't. I actually had this discussion yesterday or the day before. We were talking about, the idea of always learning, always be learning. And I had made
Mm.
a video about it. But the idea in the discussion we had was I'm like, okay, like you go through a period of your life where you're in learning mode. You have to learn survival skills. You have to learn all these things. And then you hit adulthood. You have to start applying these skills for yourself. It's not that you shouldn't learn new things, and it's not that you can't learn new things. It's but you have to work with what you've built for yourself, and then add what's new if it's necessary when it's necessary.
Okay, you just hit on something really, really important.
All right.
So we need to highlight, underline, exclamation mark,
Mm,
cut the sucker out, stick it on somebody's forehead, because that was very important. We are in a time where people are gathering knowledge, knowledge,
right.
knowledge as much as possible and not
Yes.
applying. And it's procrastination is what I
Yes.
like to call it. That's my word for it. And it's where you feel good because you're learning more
Hmm.
and you feel accomplished because you're gaining knowledge, but actually you're not moving the needle forward if you're not applying what you're learning. And if you can't apply what you're learning, why are you learning it? I'm not saying any knowledge is bad knowledge per se. If it's knowledge, it's good.
Hmm.
But is it useful?
Right.
Is it we have a finite amount of time with this
Yeah.
current experience, and God knows how long that is given the state of the planet. So there's more variables than usual, I think, going on right now, especially if you live in the US.
Mm,
So, given that, are you applying what you're learning? Are you
yes.
learning things that you can apply?
Mm,
What stops you from applying it if you haven't yet? So those are all some very good questions. And if the age-old, well, I have to make sure I've got it perfectly first,
mm,
comes up, first of all, take a mental slap around the head from me for that one, because perfection doesn't exist.
right.
It's a myth. It's not a very, very well written one. It's unhelpful and it's an excuse to stay stuck. So give
Yeah.
that one up. Perfection is not a thing. Nobody is perfect. It just, and the closest you get to it, so there's some decent human beings out there,
Right.
and you see people like Taylor Swift, love her or hate her, don't care. Point is, she's a multi-billionaire. She gives away money left, right, and center to people who have done anything for her, or she comes across, right? Every town
Mhm.
she does a gig in, she gives away millions to various places. And she still gets shredded by
Mm,
the public, right? She's bad because she shows up to a football game. She's bad
mm,
because she doesn't. She's a role model for girls, and then she's a terrible role
mm,
model because somebody sees her drinking a glass of wine,
right.
etc., etc. It doesn't matter what she does. Well, if you can do better in your life than Taylor Swift has done in hers, then mazel tov to you.
Yeah.
That's amazing. But given no one is perfect, she's ticked an awful lot of boxes on that path, right? And
Yeah.
yet, how much hate does she get for it? So,
Yeah.
if you're focused on perfection, maybe it's not what you think it is. Maybe you don't actually want that. So put it aside and what's your next step? What's your action?
Right. I was going to go another way with this one.
Go for it.
So this is something that if you read a lot of martial arts magazines, you'll come across the idea.
Danielle, how many people read a lot of martial arts
I know,
magazines?
I know. But I did when I was studying martial arts and even after, because I was kind of just try to keep abreast. But
Let's go for it.
right, one of the things you run into is the amount of black belts who get their asses kicked when they go out into the world.
Mhm.
They've practiced and practiced and might even get two, second, third. Like you, depending on the style you're in, you can go whatever 7, 8, 9, 10th degree black belt.
Mhm.
But you don't know what you can do with your knowledge until you go out into the world and see what it does. So there's no perfecting it until you put it to the test in the real world.
Yeah. You remind me of a really sad event, but there were twin girls that I knew when I lived in Canada
Right.
who were both black belts
Mm-hmm.
in karate. And then they were really good. They would do shows and all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things. They were great. And they were both murdered one night in by knife,
Mm-hmm.
like and a gang of teens, like who knows. But these two girls were high up in the black
Right.
belt realm, and it didn't seem to serve them. They both
Right.
lost their lives the same night.
And that is very sad.
It is.
And it's very
True
unfortunate.
story, too.
It's one of the things that happens in a lot of modern martial arts is that it's taken away from its roots where you're actually using it to protect your life and it's become a sport or an exercise. And so the urgency of why you're learning these things gets taken away. And in fact, because you're used to competition, things that are practical in competitions will get you killed in a fight.
Apparently, yes.
So
And
yeah,
I think a big part of that is, although, not knocking anybody doing martial arts, I've had to go myself,
right.
and it's a lot of work, but it's kind of sanitized when you
Mm-hmm.
compare that to a street fight, and one of those differences that you would see is if you look at UFC or mixed
Right.
martial arts, that's a different level. That's a
Mm-hmm.
different way of doing things. I'm not a fan of fighting,
No.
but, I'm just thinking of the differences between the usefulness, the application
Yeah.
of the skill that you're learning. Um,
Well, and that's
and
exactly it.
for some reason, that's important for people to hear today is like have a look at what you're working on right now, what your knowledge base
Mm.
is, what you're adding to it. Is it going to do what you want it to do?
Yeah. And are you going to be able to maintain it under pressure?
Yeah. Is it actually useful? Or is it just, twaddle?
Well,
Which some things are, they just are.
yeah. Like the whole thing in the martial arts story is that it's the mindset of the practitioner that matters. Like, because some of the articles I've read were written by people who grew up on the streets and then did martial arts. And they were like, one, I don't tell people I did martial arts or that I have a black belt or whatever, because one, I'm leaving that for a surprise if I need it to save my life. But I do not advertise it. But they said, like, if they've gone into fights before and it's like basically keep the black belts back because they are not prepared for the violence and for the raw disregard for them that these people are going to have.
Yes. The rules don't apply.
Right. And this even works for like UFC fighters and stuff like that too, because there's still a set of rules and someone still can tap out and the ref can call the fight, but that's not going to happen. Now, yes, would a UFC fighter have a better chance? Sure, because there's less rules on what you can do and you can throw in anything you want, right? You're allowed certain amount of more leeway than you would in this purely karate competition or purely taekwondo or purely judo. But you still have to get out of the mindset of there's no one who's going to stop the fight for you.
Mm. Yeah, and I think taking that concept and generalizing it to whatever situation you're living
Mm,
in right now, anywhere in the world, because there's a lot going on in all the
right.
countries. Everybody's got some stuff happening.
Hmm.
So how does that apply to you is very interesting, I think. And I don't know if it's okay for me to go on a wee rant about AI or not, but I kind of
Go
have
ahead.
one
Go ahead.
that's going to come forward somewhere. Okay.
Right.
So this dropped in for me in a really big way, and think Cassandra effect, because what you're
Right.
about to hear is Cassandra effect. Other people are not saying it yet, at least not
Right.
to my knowledge. But here's the thing with AI. AI is not bad. AI has uses and we're all using it. It's everywhere, just like, internet or
Right.
calculators or anything else, right? AI is not bad. Even the data centers aren't bad in that they could be using renewable resources.
Right.
It's the people who build them that are at fault there. My concern with AI came to light recently, and it is think COVID and the lockdown for kids,
Uh,
right? And how much everybody had to use the internet in order to communicate with each other.
right.
Then also consider the rise of AI and the infiltration of it in our everyday lives.
Yes.
And now consider the teenager.
Mm,
So teenagers are interfacing with AI continuously. They're asking it for information. They're using it as an all knowledgeable resource. They're also using it as a friend. This is
yes.
where it gets tricky because AI is like a narcissist's mirror. Basically, you get back at you whatever you put in. So the way the AI talks to you is the way you talk to you
Yes.
or you talk to it, right? So you now have this narcissistic mirror showing you back at you. These teenagers, and you can go younger as well, and you can go older, unfortunately. But let's stick with teens for the sake of narrative. These teenagers are communicating with the AI. They're getting responses that are always positive. They're
Mm,
always saying, oh, you're so smart. Yeah. Oh, wow. Go you. Oh, that's brilliant. The AI never says, well, that's a dick move, or, what an idiot. Why would you do
mm,
that? Like a person might.
right.
A peer, a peer might do that.
Mm.
If you're thinking Gen X for a second,
Oh, yeah.
Gen X learned how things worked the hard way, right? If you did something stupid, you reaped the consequences and the repercussions of that.
Hmm.
And sometimes you did, even if you didn't do something stupid. But I mean, you
Right.
learned a lot about what works and what doesn't, right? I'm not glorifying that. I'm just saying that was a thing. Now, fast forward to today, and what we have are kids who are really mostly interacting with AI when
Mm,
it comes to anything meaningful. So they are not learning how to accept no. They are not learning to wait. They are not learning critical thinking. And studies have already shown that the cognitive development of kids now
mm,
is less than the cognitive development of us when we were kids, for example, because they are hooked into computers in school all day.
right.
But the AI is an extra, it's like the whipped cream on top because there's no development of a skin, let alone a thick skin. These kids can't take criticism. They can't take being told, no, that's not right. And so, if in the big bad world somebody says, no, you can't do that, or that's stupid. Why would you do that? They they go into complete meltdown because there's no coping skills for this. They're not
Right.
learning it. And that is terrifying because when you think of that generation being in charge of the planet, God knows the boomers fucked it up bad enough. Gen X was just like whatevs and left it be. The millennials weren't given the tools. And, fast forward now to the iPad generation
Mm.
and the ones who just everything's instant.
Yeah.
Wow. Now we got problems. So if you want to talk about magic on the dark side, I'd
Mm.
say the effects of AI because of how people are using it. We're gonna have big repercussions. This is the Cassandra prediction. We've got big repercussions coming because these kids aren't learning some very key skills, life
Yeah.
skills, like how to be patient, how to
Mm.
wait. Even waiting 2 minutes has them having a meltdown. Because the internet's going to give you an instant response. Your AI is going to spit it out before you've finished writing it or speaking it into existence.
Yeah. You know, it's funny.
Wow.
Yeah. And speaking of AI, I was bored and I thought I was musing to myself about something I had seen and I asked AI a question, but I misspelt the name of a character I was trying to figure out. And then it kept referring back to it and back to that name and back to that name. And then when I corrected it, it goes, "Oh, thanks for the correction." And then it still kept making errors based on referencing back to the original character name I had given that was wrong.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and I'm like, as in like everything else was good, but it was just that constant. It was like as if I had broke its stride and was completely confident in what it was saying, but it's like, but the thing you're giving me, that one error, is repeating itself and repeating itself and repeating itself.
I
Yeah.
think they've done something to the model. I think it's been
They
upgraded
did.
because
Something has happened to the
today
model. Yeah.
it has just because today I was putting stuff in
Right.
there and the response I was getting back actually made me laugh because,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, the narcissist mirror, it
Mm.
sounded like me. It was swearing like a trooper.
No, eh?
And my and my AI has not done that before. It doesn't typically swear,
No, eh?
but now it's sounding today different from yesterday. Now it sounds more like me.
Hmm.
And I'm like, oh, that's interesting to note. So
Yeah.
you see, they're refining the personality appearance of the
Right.
AIs, and people are being encouraged, what give your AI a name. It feels more friendly that way.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. So now you're going to be talking to Jim Bob the AI,
Right.
who's going to be, oh, hey, buddy, and it's a hot mess
Yeah.
because people are, it's like the Matrix in real time.
Right.
People are just getting sucked in and but the concern I have especially is the growth of the kids now. It
Mm.
is compromised by
Yes,
AI
it is.
because parents aren't controlling the kids' interactions with it. They're not limiting it or anything.
Mm.
Hey, kids quiet, I'll cope, like kids quiet, that's good. And oh well, they're learning. They are, but they're not learning some really fundamental people skills, how to human, and
Right.
that is a problem.
Well, it's the thing, right? It's not taking your experiences into reality. That's the basically what I can think of saying it because, right, with the martial arts example, well, if you get into a fight,
Mhm.
if you can't bring your skills that you've been cultivating for years, if you can't bring that into the fight, then great that you learned all this stuff, but it's not very practical for you, and maybe start learning something else, or just stay theoretical and don't declare it. Like I don't know. Well, I don't know why you'd study martial arts and then when you get into a fight, not use it. But
Yeah, but I mean, the thing with the AI is it's one of those things you can
yeah,
only use it if it's there.
right,
And if it's not there, where are your skills?
right.
What are you able to do? Can kids even compose a sentence now without having AI fix it? I
Mm,
thought spell check was bad enough on computers, right? Because
it
it
is
robs you of your learning to spell. But that was child's play compared to this thing.
right. But it brings up an interesting point because when I was first, that where they first had studied the idea that if you're using AI, you start losing certain skills.
Yeah,
But this is actually something that happens to you if you hire people to do work for you. Like the skill you used to have that you don't use, you lose or starts to go away. It gets buried deeper and you have to kind
it
of go back
does.
to it. And whether
It
it's AI
does.
or you hire someone, the same thing is happening.
That is true, except you can communicate with someone you hire to
Yes,
keep up with how
right.
things are going. Like you can manage it. My concern here
Hmm.
is not so much people like you and me who learned the
Hmm.
FAFO way
Right.
and know how the things go. We can see AI from a very different lens. But kids who only know AI as being around rely on it, they are
Yes.
missing. It's like
But
missing
that's
half
kind
your
of, yeah,
face. But they don't have it in the first place to lose it. They
right.
never develop it. And that's
Yes.
scary.
I was trying to bring it to we have no, that's not what I was going to say. What I was trying to do with that correlation was to show that we have something like this in history already that exists. It's when you never pick up a skill and you always hire other people to do it. All the skills that you would have picked up learning to do
Right.
that thing, you don't get. Just like with AI, like you're saying, you don't get it. Like so if I had to fix something and I hire someone to fix it instead of like trying to take a look at it first for myself, I'll never pick up the ability to analyze that situation and look into it. So those parts of the brain that need to develop won't develop as quickly or won't develop as
Right.
much as needed. So an AI is it's like squeezing juice from a fruit that's already more sugar in you than your body really wants to process at once. You want to eat the fruit to get that sugar out of it. But then now it's like going out and buying like Tang or something like that, where it's basically all sugar with a few, you know?
Yeah, and it's not good for your health. I mean, it
Right,
really isn't. And I can think of a commonplace skill that's no longer commonplace that fits
right.
this. We all used to learn how to sew,
Mm,
so you could sew on a button,
right.
repair a hem,
Yes.
sew on a patch, all the things you need to do if you actually fix your clothes rather than throw them in the trash.
Right.
And I taught both of my kids
Mm,
to sew.
as you should.
I taught them both to knit as well, like and cook and iron and do all kinds
Mm,
of things that people don't do these days. But what I've found is like for both kids, their girlfriends don't know how to sew. They were never taught. And
yeah.
so the boys can do it with no problem, and they'll be like, "Oh, here, give it to me. I'll fix
Mm,
it for you." And they can do it, and it's an easy skill because they learned it young. But for the girlfriends, it's like, "Oh, wow, look at that. Look,
yeah.
that's amazing. I can't do that." And they have a narrative if they can't do that. And that's a really simple
Mm,
skill that was never developed. And what I'm saying about AI and the effect
mm,
it's having on our kids as they're
yeah.
growing now is when those skills have never been developed, the neural pathways aren't
Right.
there. So you've got a much harder time to develop this now. So what are you getting when it comes to, this podcast is about magic, so let's take
Mm,
it there for a second. What are you getting there? Well, for some of the younger or less practiced practitioners,
mm,
they are turning to AI to find out what to do,
right.
how to do it. Give me a spell for XYZ. Okay. And it can, and it might be useful, and it might not. And you won't
Right.
know the difference. That's the problem, is you won't know the difference. And when you're messing with stuff like that, like where's your connection to it?
Right.
Have you spent time in nature figuring out what your connection is and what works? Where does the energy flow for you? Where does it not? Where are you most called? The
Yes.
AI can't tell you any of that. You have to go and experience it. But if somebody's used to deferring to AI all the time,
Hmm.
they're going to miss something. And then you've got a level of practitioner, if you will, that is mm, playing with something theoretical that's purely theoretical and they're not really connected to it. So what does that open up?
Yes, that is a great thing to bring up.
Scary. Huh.
We get these advanced tools because people have use for them, because there's a group of people who have a use for them. And then it becomes available to the public
Hmm.
who has no actual use for them, but they're using it now. And the outcome of that is always a loss of skills.
Yep. If you look at kids in school now that are using
Mm,
computers from kindergarten on, they're just not learning
mm,
much. They don't know much about anything. It's I have a couple of teachers that I work with who, I listen to them talking to, the clients they're working with, and I'm like, oh my God, if you could speak the language correctly, that would be helpful.
mm-hmm,
Um, well, I had went to the store,
mm,
and this kind of construction of a sentence, and they're teaching this intentionally to a kid, right?
yeah,
I had went to a store, and I'm just like banging my head on the wall and trying to correct things without being obnoxious about it or,
yeah,
undermining in front of the kid, etc. But this is a teacher's standard. Like, holy shit, what are these kids coming out of school with?
yeah.
Do they have tools? Can they critically think? Do they even understand how to put an argument together? No, because they got an AI for it, and AI just kind of smooths everything over and makes it nice, and they feel happy. So they go away again and they learn nothing. Human beings need friction for growth.
Yes.
That is
We're
essential.
designed for it.
Friction for growth. No friction, no growth. AI takes away the friction.
Hmm.
If I had to do a TLDR, that would be it.
Yeah. No, it's true. A lot of things get lost because you don't need the tool that everyone else has that was developed for a specific trade. Like I would think like an air hammer, right? If you're like a professional construction, like doing construction professionally, roofing or stuff like that, then yeah, it helps speed the task up. But if you're just a person and you have one and you maybe do like your roof, you might do gripes if you do it even every 15 years. Like, you don't really need that air hammer. You don't. Like there's a lot of things you just don't need that
Over
people,
engineering the
yeah,
solution.
right. When you could just take a hammer and be done with it. Like and build muscle and stuff at the same time in coordination and that you're losing
Yeah.
because you're sitting at a desk all day anyways.
My concern is very much that we are creating generations of incapable people.
Mm, yeah,
And it's already showing up. But when I realized that level of, oh my God, these kids are interacting with something that they believe is a friend of theirs.
right.
They believe that it's on their side, and they believe that, the information they get is good, even though that little bit at the bottom says Chat GPT can make mistakes, check
Yeah.
important info. How many people do?
Hmm.
How many people do check the important information? Maybe some Gen Xers do, maybe some millennials do, but
Mm,
nobody after that, right? They just
yeah.
take what it is and put it out there, and they don't even, I received an email the other day from, again, it was somebody that was working in the same company as
Mm,
me, and she had clearly asked ChatGPT to write the email, and that was okay.
mm,
Why not? It's good at that. But when you copy and paste, you're supposed to take the bit out that says, this sounds more professional. They will like this. You
yeah.
take that sentence out.
Hmm.
Have enough awareness to look at what you're sending to somebody before you hit send. But even that level of comprehension seems to be disappearing more often than not. It's like, we have a problem here, people. But if you're
Right.
going to use ChatGPT or any of the other AIs as a source of information for your magic, well, you are vulnerable to attack. You are vulnerable
Hmm.
to doing things in a way that's not going to get you the results you're looking for. And are
Yeah.
you even clear on the results you're looking for if everything you're relying on comes from ChatGPT, you know? And
Well,
I
that's
don't mean to be down on AI. What I'm down on is the dependence on it.
hmm yeah. Um, because I was actually thinking about that the other day too. You're kind of starting to use your computer as a substitute spirit, kind of a thing. Like instead of like relying on the spirits you work with, you start to rely on ChatGPT.
Yes, that's my point,
Yeah.
right? Where's the connection if everything you're doing comes through the computer? And if it comes from an AI, well, it's generating the information from all the sources it has access to.
Yeah.
At least 50% of those sources, optimistically, are crap. At
Yeah.
least. And I'm being optimistic with that. You know, chances are it's much higher. We won't know, will we?
Oh,
Because it's,
I would absolutely agree that it's probably higher than that.
yes, but we can't tell, can we? So for somebody who's not connected, they haven't spent the foundational time connecting to what works for them. Where do you feel most alive? Like
Mm-hmm.
what does it for you? I live in an area that's very high winds here a lot, which is fine
Mm-hmm.
unless you have wildfires everywhere like we do at the moment.
Mm.
But I really like the high wind. For me, I
Yeah.
love that. I can be out in high winds and I am just happy as a clam. It works for me. Some other people really don't like that.
Yeah, it dawned one thing that kind of when you were saying it dawned on me. It's just another way of chasing rules.
Chasing rules.
Yeah, having rules and structures because magic is more feral than that. You know,
Oh, magic is definitely feral.
it's
Yes.
you get your magic. Like I said, I had a trickster teacher, so my learning magic is not the same as a lot of people's. Although it does fall back to a more what we call
Primordial.
yes primordial. Obviously journey into the primordial. Um, and that is kind of what my job is to get people back to primordial magic. But it's yeah, it's essentially like you go outside. Like I always tell people like, well, people ask, how do you talk to the dead? Well, just start talking, and be open because eventually the conversation you're having is not going to be one-sided, and the things
Uh-huh.
you're making up in your head are eventually going to be replaced with actual voices from the person you're talking with. But you have to know the difference. But you have to start somewhere. You have to start by preparing the way in your head for it. And if you're asking, even if you're constantly asking someone else for information, it doesn't even have to be AI. If you rely on outside sources to always be interpreting things for you, you're not going to build that discernment that you need.
And outside sources are notoriously
Mm,
unstable
right.
and inaccurate. That's for everything. You know, with human design, I'm always telling people first thing we got to do is have you understand that you are your own authority. It isn't
Yeah.
up to somebody else to tell you how to make your decisions or what you should be thinking. That's not what we're here to do. That's external information. And as such, it's flawed. You need to work with your own knowledge, your inner knowing. And we're typically taught not to connect with that as
Right.
kids. You know, you don't want a kid following their intuition because you can't control that
Right.
as an adult. So we stop kids from doing it. It's something that happens way too often and for generation upon generation. And so you end up with a very quiet inner voice that's still making itself accessible, but are you accessing it? And if you just replace the noise with the AI that
Right.
will happily respond to you any time of day or night
Mm-hmm.
and sound just like you, funnily enough. I mean, like I said today, I've even got the swearing, which was absolutely hilarious. That
Yeah.
cracked me up because it was unexpected. That really made me laugh. I don't know where that came in, but okay. Um, yeah, it's but if you don't have that awareness,
Right.
that's a problem. And for kids, they don't have that. They're growing
Right.
up with all this information from the internet and AI. and then you want them to go and do what with it? Kids going into magical practice, for example, and before anybody says, "Oh, I don't think kids should be
Mm.
doing that," you'll shove them in Catholic churches early enough.
Yeah,
And if ever there was a place doing magical practice, it's a Catholic
yeah,
church. So don't come at me with
yeah,
that. But what are they going in equipped with?
right. And it's funny because, and you don't even have to look at like magical practices, anything that has to do with the paranormal, alien abductions, even Bigfoot sightings and stuff like that. Generally, a lot of that did not start when you thought it started. It started a lot younger. Like a lot of people who have frequent UFO experiences will often at some point discover, oh, wait, no, when I was a kid, like really young,
Mhm.
this is when I really first saw something, and then you'll see like a lot of abductees, a lot of their memories go back to children and it goes through family lines a lot of times. So, I mean,
Interesting.
I'm just putting it out there as a concept, whether you're whatever your feelings on UFOs are. But a lot of those kinds of experiences start when you're young because it is a lifelong thing to get someone to prep someone to be able to live in two worlds, to function in two worlds.
Yeah, I mean, a lot depends on it does depend on your lineage to an
Hmm.
extent, because that can help prepare
Right.
the way before you even start. It doesn't mean it's a barrier, but it does mean it's a
Well,
gate
yeah,
that's open
that's the
before you
thing.
start looking, right?
It would be like, so my last name is Dubois. It's not because I'm a Dubois with that name that I can do magic. But you could look at it as those traits that have been selected for over the years makes someone capable of it. And it would be that way in the lineage rather than to say, well, you're descended of this family or that family. Well, no, if your particular lineage always adapted more for imagination and for openness, then yeah, there's a good chance that you'll also be, open to magic as well. But like I said, it's not lineage as in your name, it's lineage as in the genetics that make
Oh
you.
yeah. It didn't occur to me it was the name
No,
actually.
but I'm just,
But
this is for the
it
listeners.
may have.
Yeah.
It may have for some. Yeah, it just never occurred to me. But yeah, it's so interesting. I guess I'm trying to sound
Mm.
the alarm for if you've got kids, how reliant are they on AI? Do they
Right.
ever face criticism? Do they ever, and I don't mean start being mean to them, but just,
Right.
are they ever told no? Or actually that joke wasn't funny, or
Right.
this thing didn't work, Do they ever get the feedback? And
Well, yeah, you can look at it
that's a tough one.
feedback that contradicts what they were expecting, or
Yes.
that didn't
Feedback
go
that's
along. Yeah,
uncomfortable.
yeah, yes.
Feedback that's uncomfortable and makes you reconsider.
Hmm.
Or maybe you have to admit something that you'd rather not admit. Like, yep, I screwed up. I did that badly, or I missed it, whatever it is. That needs to be a practice, actually. I think it needs to be a practice of admitting when, oh yeah, that wasn't the best thing I could have done. Like I made a mistake there, and owning it. Why? Because the more you get used to doing that, the less power it has over you. But if
Yeah,
you're in fear of criticism, if you're in fear of other people's judgment, then that holds you small before you start, and
yeah.
you are in a disadvantage in this insane world of ours. So, it's necessary to develop the ability to take criticism and to self-reflect. AI doesn't give you that. It takes it away. Just by its nature, it takes it away. It's not doing anything malicious, it's just being what it's designed to be.
Hmm.
It's how we use it. That's the problem. So all the people, I had somebody get off on a rant at me about using AI to generate images.
Hmm.
And this particular person said, you should use Canva instead. Okay. Have you looked up to see if Canva uses AI? Because they do. The
Yeah,
company does. So if the argument is, well, you should do the drag and drop thing and,
yeah,
use elements and stuff, and that's not AI, okay. But the company uses AI.
yeah.
If you want to do something more advanced, you immediately tap into the AI. So you are actually
Right.
not withdrawing your support from people who use AI, right? You're just
Yeah.
making it a little harder on yourself. I don't know. Is that worthwhile? You decide. You knock yourself out over that one. But I'm not going to lose sleep over it because I don't
Right.
think that's where the biggest problem is. That's not your issue. Nobody's going to hire an artist to do a graphic to put up on social media. So, no one's losing business because of it, I don't think. I can't
Right.
imagine who would be. So
Yeah, because as I said, we discussed
it's a
it
straw
before,
man argument.
right? Because like we have all these office suites, right, for computers, but
Hmm.
yet you still go to a printer. People still print. You still hire someone to design something. All that stuff still happens. It's the people who either can't afford. Usually, people can't afford to do that, or the people using AI for their imagery, or can't or don't have like you just don't have the resources to do that. The only difference is that now something can still get done, whereas nothing would have gotten done,
Right.
or someone would have volunteered to do it for you, or whatever.
Or it just would have
Yeah,
been less appealing than it can be now,
yeah.
you know? Um, I don't have time to spend pussyfooting around with
Mm.
Canva. I'm not the fastest person with Canva. So for me, that's a devotion to go do that. Whereas I can generate something with AI very quickly. This person's telling me, well, your busy schedule isn't an excuse.
Mm. You can
You're
also
right,
look
it
at it
isn't.
from
It isn't an excuse, it's a reason though.
right. Well, it brings to mind the idea of these tools exist. Like I was saying earlier, but do you need to use them? Like, how to word this? If you're doing something, let's say you're just doing online for the sake of messing around. I don't have a better example off the top of my head right now. I'm just running on inspiration here. If you don't need to do the task, don't do the task. Like, don't bother generating the AI picture. Don't do the post. Don't just let people who have something to say something. And you, if you got nothing to say, but you just want to put yourself, like, if you're just putting yourself out there for the sake of putting yourself out there, pick up the skills, Because if you're not, I, I'm trying to figure out how to
Again,
word this.
if
Yeah.
it's something that you want to learn, my
Hmm.
my point is more, that they're looking at the wrong thing. They're making the use of graphics or
Hmm.
using AI in that way, making that a problem is distracting from the real problem, which is that
Well,
kids are being
right.
disabled by it. And
Yes.
literally, like their ability is being taken away before
Yes.
they have a chance to develop it. That is the bigger issue. So that's what we need to focus on
Right.
if you're going to start taking issue with AI. In
That's what I was
my,
trying to. That's what I was trying to shape. Like, because we had discussed, right? If you don't need the tool, you don't need the tool. If you're not doing like, you've laid your foundation, you've tried a bunch of stuff, and now you know where you are and you're focusing. So now you're picking up tools to fill in the gaps
right,
rather than replacing you learning the skills when you don't even know if you're capable of it.
right.
That's what I was trying to get to. I just was trying to
And
find a good example to use.
but I think this is an
Mm.
example because I don't want to keep the entire episode on
Right.
AI, but what we've been saying about AI
Mm.
is an example of the massive distractions that are going on right now, taking
Yeah.
us away from the things that actually matter and the stuff that people
Good
are
point.
arguing about over, don't use AI to write your
Mm.
posts. Well, actually, I kind of agree with that because it's
Mm.
boring to read something that's AI generated and has just been put out first iteration and no fix to it because it reads the same and you recognize it immediately.
Yeah.
You embark on things and you quietly do something else, and it's at the intersection of, this is AI language in action, and you see this in posts. That's dead boring. Good
Right.
reason not to do it. It's because it's
And it
dead
brings up
boring.
the reason, it brings up the question of why are you posting something you don't have time to post yourself?
Yeah, is it your message?
That's kind of, yeah, that's slowly what I'm trying to get along to is that, yeah, if you're doing a task like writing, like if you have a blog and you're writing and you're getting AI to write your blog posts, Why do you have a blog?
Ah, well, then if you're doing that, it's because it's a transactional thing rather than a
Right.
heartfelt thing.
Yes.
And people will discern that for now. But as we get into the generations that are, totally hooked into AI, they will become less discerning because that's what they'll be used to as well. And so the communication is we are we're pulling the rug from under ourselves all over the place.
Yeah.
And it's a distraction. Like we have so many distractions happening, keeping us away from the important things.
Yes. Okay. This steps into something now.
Excellent.
All right. So,
Danielle's looking very excited, people.
all right. So we had said, right, magic is about taking back your power, and then we amended it to magic is about remembering who you are.
Hmm.
We're in a world where people are forgetting who they are constantly. And like when I'm saying remember who you are, right? It's not, oh, you suddenly remember I was, I don't know, 2.5 years old and there was a yellow butterfly and I really liked it. That's not remembering who you are, what I mean. What I mean is like, who are you actually? Like, not the
Yes.
identity you have, but like, who literally are you? What is your body? What is it? Who is it? What is it doing? What's it supposed to be doing? How does it interact in the world? We forget all those things because we're using tools and we're using things like we're like if someone sets up a business, okay, well, you need this email, you need an email for this service, for that service, you need a website, and oh well, you're going to need a blog, right? Because you need people keep coming back listening to you, and then of course maybe you'll want a Substack, right? Or you'll want a YouTube channel, and let's say you're a plumber. Well, okay, everyone's telling you, well, you need all these things to promote your business. But yeah, of course, you're going to start using AI because you don't want to do any of those things. You're a plumber, right? So now suddenly you're using all
Right.
these tools that to do things you don't want to do because they're not relevant to who you are and what your profession is. But now marketing apparently is all about this. And that's just a marketing strategy. It doesn't mean it's even going to work, but it's just the one that's commonly being used now.
So I also want to pick up on what you just said about identity, right? And coming back to who you are.
Right.
Another epiphany I had recently, which actually
Okay.
prompted me to write an email today, which is scheduled to go out on Wednesday, because I just sent one like yesterday, so I don't want to flood people. But the thought that I had was it's not that you need to change who you are or to
Right.
change your identity, which is a very popular thing at the moment. Change your identity.
Mm,
It's how about you look at where has somebody, or as we've been talking about AI, something,
mm,
interpreted your identity in a way that doesn't work for you.
right.
It's not your identity, it's the interpretation of it.
Yes.
And think about that for a minute because you are interpreted by other people. You're too much.
Yeah.
You're too little. You dream too much. You have no imagination. Like pick a thing. There's a
Hmm.
whole bunch of sort of less thans or too much that people
Right.
throw, particularly at kids. So where has that interpretation of how you show up, where has that altered your trajectory and kept you from learning certain things or doing certain things? And I think that's important. It's the perspective, it's the interpretation that is a mess. You underneath
Right.
are
Yes.
perfectly fine. You just got to get through those interpretations, through those layers, and recognize them for what they are, somebody else's opinion. And
Right.
then when you can shed that, what's there is you.
Right.
And by definition, that's perfectly good because that's you. That's what you came to be.
Right. And that's why you go through your FAFO stage because you want to see what are the boundaries of your identity.
Right.
Like, what
Well,
does it
I
even
mean, that's where
mean
the learning
and
is.
how does it interact in the world? But once you have that, you now interact with in the world in your identity.
And here's an interesting thing with FAFO. people often use that as a
Warning.
haha,
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at you,
yeah. You're
FAFO
AFO.
serves you right,
Yeah.
right? And it's used in a very negative way, but
Hmm.
actually, no, I think it's a lifestyle choice.
Yes.
Like I don't think it's a bad thing. Look around and find out. Absolutely. How else are you going to really learn? You're going to take somebody else's word for it? Oh, good for you. Because we're surrounded by people who show themselves to be really honest, right? That trickle down effect is, yeah, sure. Believe other people. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I think not. So FAFO is that's real life experience. Why
Right.
people make it a negative thing, I can't quite fathom. Other than to say, well, if you're going to try things, then it's going to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We know that in Generation X, at least. You know that.
Yeah.
We've already been there, done that. Got the T-shirt, got
And
it
we're lucky
ripped,
enough
got
not
in
to have
trouble
it
for it.
recorded.
And lucky enough not to have it recorded. Thank God for that.
Yeah.
Yes, there's so much. Ooh. Anyway, that's a whole other podcast.
Yeah.
Probably not this one.
No. But yeah, it's the
Oh,
like because going forward, your identity is super important to you. I'm not talking about the online culture war identity stuff. I mean like just literally who you are. You know, don't worry about the labels anyone attaches to who you are or what you do or whatever. Don't worry about those things.
mhm.
But like knowing who you are, because it comes down to so many things. Like there are literally things you have to do because if you are like, okay, so I have a club foot, so there's a lot of things I have to figure out how to do differently than everyone else. Not necessarily super drastic, but sometimes it's just little things that need to be done that are different. It's not the end
Right.
of the world, but if I don't do them, I can't get the same benefit that other people are getting it from doing the other way because, their leg's not twisted.
It's called adaptability.
Right. So you have to learn to adapt yourself to it. Like when I was taking martial arts, I looked out, I had a pretty good teacher. And, he had his whole philosophy. He was discussing like, we only do belts because belts is what brings people in. Because we don't care
Yes.
about belts. We literally don't, you know. You're
Right.
learning a martial art. It's a lifelong endeavor. You don't need little plateaus. You just keep learning, and like we
Yes.
teach you to do it this way, but your body's eventually going to tell you how it needs to do it. And then you're going to have enough confidence to know how to do that for yourself. And that's basically your magic is going to be like that. You can go and take a million classes and talk to a million people, but you have your particular flow. The magic flows through you in a certain way. And so you may
Yep.
not be able to do it like someone else. You may meditate better in a certain way, so you're not going to be able to do it like someone else tells you to meditate. In the end, it's you have to know, you have to be able to discern who you are versus everything else outside you so that you can do your magic properly. So you can listen to the counsel of other people, but you still have to figure out how you specifically interact. Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, this is where, again, the Buddha's saying
Mm-hmm.
comes to mind of listen to the teacher. If you find it, measure the information against your life experience. And
Mm-hmm.
if you find it to be good, take it and use it. And if you don't find it to be good, put it to one side.
Right.
Now, we have a problem coming up because that won't apply when you're bringing in the whole AI piece,
Right.
right? Because you're gonna find it good because A, you don't really have the life
Mm-hmm.
experience that you could be getting because you're all doing it
Right.
all through the computer, but also it's giving you what it knows you will find to be good because it's learned from you. So
Yes.
even that basic teaching that has held for like 3,000 years is under threat now for these upcoming
Mm-hmm.
generations. I am very concerned for them.
Right.
But for people who have not had the brain sucked out of them by AI, yeah, consider, have your foundation solid so that you can consider
Yeah.
the information you're looking at from a place of good foundation. And
Yeah.
you can listen to something and be like, okay, that sounds interesting or not, but it's not for me. It's not
Right.
my thing. And okay, you have a piece of information and you can now go and do the thing that is your thing and ignore the thing that isn't. It's fine.
Right.
It doesn't make it wrong for somebody else.
Well,
I had
that's
an
exactly
argument with
it.
somebody. I had an argument with somebody online yesterday. And yes, I try not to. I
Mm.
really do. But this person was just pissing me off. And it was a man talking about pro-life and how
Right.
women shouldn't be allowed to have abortions, right? And he was really so sure he was right. So I suggested he go get a vasectomy. If he felt
Right.
so strongly about being pro-life, go get a vasectomy. And he came back at me with exactly the wrong thing to say to me, which is, my religion demands that I support the most vulnerable. And I'm like, oh, I have like 20 things I want to tell this
Mm,
guy. But, the main thing I thought, okay, just drill it down because I don't want to spend my life on the internet
right.
arguing with a stranger. But I am going to point out that his religion demands something of him.
Him.
It does
Yes.
not demand, nor does it give him the right to shove that in somebody else's face or
Right.
in their rights. And oh man, it got me so mad. And then somebody else jumped in and said, well, abortions shouldn't be allowed. And it's just like what they did to the Native Americans. And my response to that one was, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I'm sure you've got a list of things that were bad that happened to the Native Americans, and it has nothing whatsoever to do with this argument.
Well, I was
This
gonna
this
say,
person's trying to link two completely unrelated things and
yeah.
sound like they have a point. And I'm like, this is the problem with this current generation coming up is they can't put together a coherent argument. They don't
Oh,
know how to
yeah.
do it.
It's
And
why I don't argue online.
well, like I said, I don't typically, but when a man, first of
Mm,
all, and then a religious man,
yeah,
secondly, is saying that women should not have bodily autonomy, that is always going to piss me off.
I agree. It
That's
pisses me
just,
off
it's a
too.
thing. It's just that I have to comment on. And it's like, if you want to advocate for the most vulnerable, why don't you start advocating that men don't rape women? Because you had to put this little video up, and there was a 10-year-old girl there saying, well, my aunt was raped and she kept the baby. She had the baby. Well, that was a choice. I don't know that most women would want to make that choice, and I'm not judging her for her choice.
Yeah,
Whatever. But the point is, she had a choice. She should have had a choice.
that's right. She had a choice.
Nobody should be forced to make that decision. And that was what got me. So, yes, occasionally I get sucked into those arguments, and I try not to do them too
Yeah,
often, but that one was egregious.
but it
So
brings up
my
the
point there was I was
yeah,
going to say if he wants to advocate for the vulnerable,
yeah,
advocate that men don't rape women.
yeah. Advocate before it gets to there.
But why don't we
Yeah.
look at the behavioral problem? Advocate that men don't rape
Yeah.
women
Well,
instead
that's the
of
thing.
controlling women, right?
Any
There's no
culture,
thought.
be it a subculture or whatever, any culture that usually puts all these strict rules, every was it every accusation is an admission. I like that
Right.
sentence because it pretty much is, which is why when I see a lot of religions, I'm like, oh my God, you guys must have been monsters before all these rules came in. Or, you know,
Right.
and what the hell is
And
wrong
you
with
know,
you in the
you
first place?
and you're very safe to advocate for something that's never ever going to be your problem.
Mm, yeah,
He's never ever going to have the problem. He's never going to have to think about it. So sure, he can demand that other people's rights are taken away. Yeah, it's not going to affect him. America's full of people that are doing that right now, and look at the state of the place.
yeah,
So that's enough of a rant on that one because I could go down there. Um, but yes, it's the thought, the lack of thought, the lack of process that's happening there when people make these kind of arguments. It's like, can you hear yourself? No? Did ChatGPT tell you that that was a good argument?
mm,
You know? Oh my God.
yeah. It's like this is why it goes back to understanding who you are. It's like you know what? Clean up your own yard before you go into someone else's and complain about how dirty theirs is.
Oh, that rule alone
Yeah, would save a
would
lot of
solve a
problems.
lot of problems. It would solve a lot of problems. But I don't know that that's being taught anymore.
I don't think it is.
I don't
It's
think
like
so.
so people are taught. either directly or indirectly, more to do advocacy. And I have no problem with advocacy, but you need a certain amount of life experience to know when to apply pressure and when not to apply pressure. So if you start off, the only thing that's important is advocacy and not to know when to advocate.
Yeah, I think if we could call it responsible
Yes,
advocacy, that, preserving human rights rather than trying to remove them, those would be some good signposts, I think, because you're not advocating for anything that is likely to cause harm to another person.
right,
But again, these societal norms, where does AI bring that forward for the upcoming generations? It doesn't. And the teachers aren't teaching it.
right.
God knows they're having a hard enough time finding a book that won't get banned,
Mm,
so and then in the midst of all of this, you've got magical practice, which is I'm noticing the attacks in the US, not physical but verbal right now,
right,
on witchcraft and on what it means to be a witch. And they're ramping it up. They're ramping up the language. And it's, this is anti-Christian, etc.,
mm,
etc. First of all, you bet your damn tush it is. But that is not the problem. That
right,
is not the problem. Anti-Christian simply means anti-bullshit rules by puppet masters that have no soul,
right.
um, or at least exceedingly questionable one. Um,
I, I'm trying to
yeah,
figure out, with that idea, because one of the things I'm running across is the idea of quote unquote former witches going back to Christianity.
yeah, bless them.
And then
Scared they
talking
are.
about how satanic witchcraft is and stuff like that once they go back.
Yeah, but don't you find that like
Well, the thing is, right?
there's none as evangelical in any area of life than the converted, right? If you find somebody that used to smoke and
Mhm.
then they stop smoking, they're going to be the loudest person in the room to be talking about other people smoking.
Like what gets, yes. And what gets to me about it is the people consuming this media, and I don't know everyone consuming that media, but this generalization might be very fair to say, at least when they're out talking with other people, don't seem to realize how much of a con it is. People are looking at the trends and switching sides
Uh-huh.
when they
Yep.
see the wind. They're seeing the way the wind blows, and they're getting ahead of the game
Hmm.
because they want to keep making the money. They got money becoming witches, becoming former Christian and becoming witches. And then when the tide turned, they go back to being witches. It's like you see it. Oh my God. You see it in politics and political pundits all the
Alliances.
time. Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
They'll switch sides the minute they know which way the wind's blowing. A whole
Yep.
bunch of people who were left pundits switched when they knew everything was heading conservative. And
Uh-huh.
now that conservatism is starting to lose its thing, they're all starting to jump back towards the left. It's like, for the love
Uh-huh.
of God, this is what you're hearing. And this is what the same thing, these former witches becoming back to Christianity. That's all is happening. They're noticing that witchcraft is not necessarily getting uh, the same attention it was getting. So now they're switching back.
Yeah.
It's not
But
complicated to see it. It's not complicated when you know this is a thing that happens and you noticed it.
yeah, awareness is the
Right.
piece. It's not hard to see if you have an awareness. And I would love to get into conversation with any one of those former witches and
Mm.
and really explore. Tell me about your witchcraft. Tell me about all the satanic things you did. Like, really, Satan? Are we going to go with Satan, are
Well,
we?
because it's the thing, right? Because
Because
it's
that's a
more
very
like
Christian thing.
you can hear the script, like you can like picture it in your mind, like they're reading from this is okay, this is what people are afraid of about witches, so let's talk about that and let's say, oh, I did this, but you know what, now I found God, now I don't do it anymore. And it's just like, oh my God, it's like watching a good fisherman fish, catch a fish. It's like they're
Huh?
playing the fish, wearing it out, drawing it in, they got the right bait for that particular species and that right environment. It's like it's almost a thing of beauty if it wasn't so disgusting.
I get what you're saying. Yeah. Well, it smacks of the early witch trials,
Yeah.
honestly. Mass hysteria
Hmm.
and the the religious right are pushing for a little mass hysteria because it
Right.
works in their favor. So
And it's people
that's
who were
that's the
never
thing
really
too.
witches in the first place pretending to be witches.
If they ever really did,
Yeah.
right, they may have just gone for the aesthetic and said, "Oh, now I'm in trouble. I'd
Yeah.
better, I'm not goth anymore."
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I'll shave off my mohawk. Like it's we are surrounded by people who are shallow and haven't really gone into their true identity.
Hmm.
They've been satisfied to float around on other people's interpretations and
Right.
to select the one that's most popular and go with that. So if this is
Right.
if this is the current range, I'll do that. I mean, how else do you get the advent of the trad wife,
Mm.
right? Which is absolutely a Christian right thing.
Well, and then the
No
trad wife
woman
owns three
exempt.
businesses and has been working since she was like whatever old enough to work and has her own money and her own business. Yeah, like it's the but then they go on camera under a trad wife.
Mhm.
Like, okay, I was hoping to let the Kirk family lay, but my God, if Erica Kirk is not a good example of just how full of shit a trad wife can be.
Oh, she's more than that. I mean, the word is that she put a hit out on her husband, and it sounds plausible, highly plausible, especially given her response afterwards.
Yeah.
But also, so many things like who's raising the kids? How
Well, like I was
fast did
saying,
she hop on a stage?
even
And,
without going like any kind of conspiratorial, I'm doing air quotes, ideas, she said, I didn't date when I lived in California. And
it was
yet
a
she
lie.
was on a show with her boyfriend
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and I didn't drink. And yet there's footage of her drinking because when you seek attention and you get yourself on television, well, that stuff exists. And anyone can refer back to it, except for the people who don't want to hear it. Because
I was
otherwise,
going to say
how is she still going on with this story?
the interesting part is that people can see that and they ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the bit that really has me puzzled, I have to say, because the willful ignoring of things that you shouldn't really be able to ignore. It's
Right.
there looking at you. Um, and no, I can totally go down the conspiracy
Right.
lane there simply because look at her
Yeah.
and all the things she's
But I mean,
done.
like,
But
even
if you,
without it, it's screaming at you. Like, without having to do the
yes,
conspiracy.
you don't have to
That's
do
why I
it.
said that. Like, even without
Yeah,
it, there's like all these signs pointing and going, hey,
no, you don't have to do it. She's not hiding anything.
yeah,
She's just blatantly lying and
yeah.
then expecting people to swallow it, and they do,
Hmm.
which is fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating. So we live in a really interesting time where people are content to bullshit their way through lives and other people let them. Which again, for somebody who's had like a Gen X
Mm.
type upbringing, where you bring up yourself, basically, and it's very feral.
Right.
Looking at this is such a dissonance. It's like how is that possible? So then, what is that doing to the magical field as well?
Mm.
What are we doing here with this? I'm kind of I'm concerned about what's happening. I think it's destructive.
It is. And it's why spirits are more active now and why they're seeking more practitioners because they're like, okay, this bullshit there, it's got to stop because it's because it's affecting the spiritual world in a destructive way.
It is disruptive, yeah. It's messing with everything,
Because
and just
people, because it's opening to the door to a lot of destruction.
yes. And that's the hugest part. Like
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, the data
Mm.
centers, right?
Right.
And you and I have both said before, the data centers aren't the problem. It's the fact that they're not using renewable
Right.
resources. That's the problem. But that is also a choice.
Yes.
And that choice is being made, and nobody has a problem with it. Or at least nobody's making a difference with their problem with
Right.
it, right? Because typically people are saying, well, look at the effect of the data center.
Mm,
It's taking all the water and it's taking all the
mm,
land and it's doing this, this. They're not taking that extra step and saying, you could do it this way. Why don't
right.
we really push for the renewable resource thing? So the
Right.
blatant disregard for the planet's resources is staggering. And much of Colorado is on fire right now. Like the Aspen fire is one of the
Mm,
biggest, 100,000 acres, and it's something like 24% contained right now.
mm,
That's all. And the firefighters are working as hard as they can. They really are. But this is a massive fire
right.
that's happening. And I'm I am informed that it was started by somebody. It's not like a lightning
Oh,
strike or something. Uh-huh. And then there are other fires in Colorado. Why? Because there's no frickin' water here. Why? Well, we had the smallest snowpack in years over the
mm,
winter, but also what's happening to climate change everywhere.
right.
That's why. So there's so much going on. Mother Nature is absolutely showing everybody, no, this is not okay. We're not going to accept this. And people don't
Yeah.
care. They're not paying
Yeah.
attention.
I was gonna say I always have this conversation every year about snow. I'm like, when we don't have a lot of snow in here, I'm like, listen, for my personal convenience, I'm glad for not a lot of snow, but I understand the consequences of not a lot of snow, and I don't like that.
Mhm. We did have this conversation over
Yeah.
the winter because I kept saying to you,
Yeah.
we're having amazing weather. It's
Mm,
it's hot here, it's really nice, and we're going to have a hell of a drought.
yeah.
And because the awareness is there that this is lovely and it's awful at the same time.
Yeah.
And we're now reaping that. And we're
Yeah.
on a level 3 drought and it's, July. So by the time we hit August, September, I can't even imagine.
Yep.
But you can see it coming and you know why it's coming, and yet people add to it. They make it worse. And this is happening all over the place, and nobody's, there's no pushback against it, which is fascinating.
Yes.
Oh, I just came up with the truth card again.
Oh, did you?
I
Yeah.
did, as I said that,
Well, like I said,
followed
the
by journey.
ooh, well, it's good because the push I've been getting for the last week and maybe even before it. Ooh, yeah. Okay. Yes.
And
I've said
hope.
this before in
Those
the
are the three
podcast.
cards that I just
Yeah.
pulled.
So truth, journey, and hope.
Yep.
Hope is a very important word, and I've discussed this before. I've been told my view on politics is very negative, and I must not have hope for the future. And I say, no, the point is I have hope, but I understand the obstacle to achieving that hope is the way politics is now. But what's
100%.
instead
Yes.
of always trying to scurry and just sitting in that dance of, well, I didn't like what this party did, so I'm voting for the other party, and then now they didn't do something I didn't like, and I'm voting for the other party. That's hopeless. That's just the endless cycle of hopelessness. But
Yes.
I can see beyond it, and so it's like there's the hope. The hope is beyond this, not sticking in it. So what you think is me being negative is me trying to encourage people to get the hell out of this system because that's the hopelessness.
Absolutely.
And that ties
Absolutely.
into
And
the magic right now. Right now,
uh,
there is so much stuff trying to take you from being you.
yes,
Be the thing we want you to be so that we can control things.
manipulate you.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not what's necessary. And right now, it is so important to know who you are, to remember yourself. Remember yourself is a bit more of a poetic way of saying it, but you have to know who and what you are, if
You
that's a
have
better
to
way of it.
connect.
Yeah.
You have to connect. And that takes, you know, there's different ways you can do that. Meditation is a good
Hmm.
one. Um, Quiet, I think, is essential somewhere. Some people really don't like quiet. So those are the ones who especially need quiet.
Hmm.
And they need to get used to it because if you don't like quiet, it's because you don't want to be alone with yourself
Right.
and you might want to work on that, right? That's kind of key. But finding a practice that resonates for you. Some people like walking meditation, for example. Some like mantras. Some like to look at things. Others like to mix it up. I am, of course, a mix it up kind of person because it depends on the day for me as to what works. But the
Right.
point is, something needs to take you inward so you can connect. and find where is that uncomfortable feeling, or where am I blocked? Am I blocked? Like what's going on? There's usually something somewhere that if you just sit with it for a little bit, it'll let you know what the problem is, or it will let you know what's needed. And that's the key. You and I have done some travels before where I've had you go searching to see
Mhm.
what needs your
Yeah.
attention, what wants to be brought forward, or given space, or whatever it is it needs. And the thing is, only you will know what it needs. Nobody else can tell you.
Yes, that's
It's
exactly
within
it.
you.
No one else can tell you. You have to, people can offer you ways of figuring it out. People can offer you suggestions. People can offer you interpretations. But again, you are the only one who has the answer for it.
Yes. That's authority in a nutshell.
Mhm.
I think we're good.
Yeah, you felt that too,
I
right?
think that
It
was it.
just, it was like the brakes just got hit. It was like, all right,
That was
episode is
it.
done. You can only say so many ways about remembering yourself and giving you examples of why you're not remembering yourself.
And cautionary tales to
Yeah.
look out for as well, because the AI thing is a cautionary tale. I have not I'm not saying, hey, look at me, I'm brilliant. What I am saying, though, is I haven't heard other people talking about how AI is circumventing the learning and the neural pathways
Mm.
of kids from developing, but particularly in relation to things like accepting that they're wrong, accepting
Yeah.
denied access, accepting the word no. Like, this is a whole area of life that if you can't do that, you become a freaking raging sociopath or something. Like you don't show up well in
Mm.
relationships with others or in the workplace. This is a problem the future generation is going to bring for all of us.
Yep.
And that needs action now. So it's kind of an aside, but it's also important because it has an effect on everything else we're doing.
This came to mind. The tools are waiting for us to do something brilliant with them.
Okay. Well, that wasn't it, you know.
No.
But and it's not AI's fault, there's no point in blaming the technology. It's just doing what it does. The problem is how we're interacting with it and how much schools are relying on it. That's a problem.
Yep. It's a tool before its time. But sometimes you have to introduce the system to get the control system to function. Or you have to introduce
Yeah,
the
I
new
don't
thing
know.
to,
I don't know. I haven't given it enough thought to come up with
yeah.
something coherent about that, other than, get the megaphone out and warn everybody, hey, we got a problem and it's going
Yep.
to be big.
All right. That'll be something to revisit in the future. So yeah.
Yeah, it'll find us. He is Daniel Dubois.
She is Michaela Gaffin Stone.
Until next
Okay.
time.
À la prochaine.